Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, Joe Slack, and joining me today is Michael Faciane from Fun First Games. Michael is a new game designer, and he's been working with his daughter on their first game, the ice cream-themed game, Triple Scoop. Mike, thanks so much for being here on the Board Game Binge.
Thank you for having me, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I know you reached out to me a few months back and we chatted a little bit about your game and looked at your rule book and everything. And since then, I've had the chance to playtest your game a couple times and you've been at a couple of my events. So I wanted to bring you on the binge so you could talk a little bit about your game and your experience going through that. So maybe you can start by telling our viewers and listeners how you got into board games and then why you decided to make your own game.
Oh, okay. So this is going to bring us back. I've always enjoyed games, as a kid. A lot of us designers, have that same thing, that same history of growing up on games. And then you find out, wow, you can actually make them. So that was the case for me, but I think I kind of bloomed late as I found, I think it was the game that really brought me into the hobby side of it, outside of the monopolies and Connect Fours and all those, was Hero Clicks. So remember the WizKid game, Hero Clicks. I got into that because I was a big comic book nerd, and then from there I shifted over into HeroScape. Um, and I kind of got involved with community um, in that heroescapers.com, shout out. And got into custom crafting our own like units and figures for the game, and from there, just being part of the community there, I got somebody told me, hey, you should try out this opening. Somebody's this company is looking for a game designer. I was like, oh, cool. So I got into it from that, and I submitted. It was an open submission for a card game. So out of 100 card games, they chose mine, and they flew me out from California, and I've been up in Washington ever since. So I worked with them for a couple of years as a designer, and I know you said new designer, and I appreciate that. I still consider myself that because this would be my first self-published game. So I've done stuff in the industry a little bit. I have a little bit. I had my feet wet maybe a decade ago doing this. So yeah, so that's kind of how I got involved in the industry. Did some rules design for them, some graphic stuff, some art stuff. But my biggest passion is to creating the game. Coming up with new concepts and developing it out. So yeah, that's kind of what got me started in the game industry from the beginning. Since I left there, I've always just continually created, even if it never saw the light of day. I have files and files of of ideas and concepts and cut up cards and stuff that I've play tested, um, but never went full force like what we're doing here with Triple Scoops. But it was when my daughters came, because I have a younger daughter as well. They're both 13 and 16 now. But it was around 3 years ago that Triple Scoops was conceptualized. And I went to my girls, I kind of got them into playing games, and I thought, I'm working on all these games that I want to see made, I want to make happen. But what about something that, they would play, that we can just play together? And it wasn't even meant to be like, oh, I want to do this and publish it. It was something we can play together and enjoy it together. Um, the kind of games that we were playing and that they could hang with was like Smash Up. That was a good little the deck shuffling game. And what's the other one? Oh, yes, the Sushi Go. Yeah, they really enjoy that one. So simple, fun little card game. So I was thinking, well, you know what? Let me go to them and see what kind of game they would like to make, and we'll go from there. So my youngest daughter, Kayla, she came up with the theme. She said, let's make a game about ice cream. So I went to the lab and I started making a game about ice cream. And it started off more of a point salad type game, kind of like Sushi Go. Not so much the hand deal, but the point salad idea was there. But yeah, many iterations later, we have what you have seen, and and yeah, it's been about 3 years worth of iterations and playtesting and everything. But it was really when I saw my daughter's art that made me realize that this is a viable product as is, theme wise and everything. Because I did show it to some friends that I knew in the industry at Gen Con that first year, and it was well received. It was like, oh yes, this is a nice little mechanic and everything, but can we retheme it? Can maybe think of a different theme, and it could be more marketable that way. And at the time, I was totally open for that, right? Like I didn't think it'd be any problem to retheme it. Let's do something else. It's fine. But um, after looking at my daughter's artwork, she has some stuff on Instagram and everything. I was just kind of perusing. I was like, this stuff is art ready now. So I went to her and said we should make some games based on your art. And I wasn't even thinking of triple scoops at the time, but after going through the many different iterations and realizing that her artwork is perfect for these types of games. I don't know whose idea it was, but it was she should do the art.
Yeah, that makes
so
sense.
so we did that, and now the idea of retheming was totally off the shelf for me because my daughter's doing the art. It's in keeping it in the family. We shopped it around a little bit, different publishers and everything, but ultimately we came to decide that we're going to keep it. So that's what we're doing.
Nice. And I think a lot of what you said there, a lot of people can relate to who are designers, having, folders and folders of ideas and previous
Yeah.
prototypes and everything. And I should have said really returning to game design after a little break rather than a new
Right.
game designer, new again to it. But yeah, I very much agree. Your game Triple Scoops is very it's very thematic, and I would find it hard to think of another game that's going to work exactly the same with a different theme. um and you mentioned that you've worked on this with your daughter. She did all the artwork for the game, and it's really colorful and it's fun and it's thematic. How much of a role do you think that the art or look and feel of a game has on the overall impression of people that they would have on a game?
Now that I knew going in, was key, important, very important, right? Like, um, being having been on the inside of the industry before, I've seen, just how important it was to get artwork, and how costly it is as well. You, I mean, you have to procure um, artist that's going to fit with the theme of the game and everything, and you have to pay for that, and there's the time that it takes to get it done. So I understand the importance of it. just as a player, that's that's the lens that I like to look through when I'm designing and developing. As a player, I definitely see the need for art, connecting with the theme, because with these games, you need an immersion. You need something that help you immerse yourself into the game. A lot of this stuff it requires your imagination to really feel like the theme is connecting. If it's just about mechanics, that's fine too. There's games where you can play and it's just about the mechanics of the game, and it can be fun. Um, but there's something about getting connected with your imagination while you're playing. And if you have any kind of like thematic backdrop that can help immerse yourself into it, all the better. It gives you that feeling, that experience that I think is very much so on top of the mind of designers these days, you know, is creating an experience, not so much just okay, you know, the whole question of what comes first, theme or mechanics, or you know, but it's really about the experience that you get from it. And I think that when you connect the theme and the mechanics, you really get the experience that you want your players to have. And that's essentially why I decided with fun first. That's that's my motto, right? Like it has to be fun. It has to connect us to fun. It has to be, and I know, you know, we're making games. That's a no-brainer. It's all about fun, definitely. But for me, it helps me to check myself whenever I'm coming up with mechanics, and you know you get your babies that you don't want to let go of, like, oh, this is a cool mechanic, it works well, it's great, and then you get it to the playtest table and it just falls apart, and you just keep fighting tooth and nail to keep it. I've learned to let those things go. You know, I've learned to yeah, just be humble about it, right? Like let it go. If it's not fun for people, then don't force it. You know, make it fun. Let the fun um, override everything else. You know, so that's my approach, and the artwork definitely adds to the fun factor. And yeah, definitely Shyne's art does that. She brought out the flavor that was needed for triple swoops.
No pun
So
intended, right?
yeah,
The flavor.
no pun intended. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we talked back in 2022, and I know you at first you were, you know, mostly maybe playtesting with friends and family and some other people. And then I encourage you to join my server. I do a monthly game design session, and you took part in that playtesting event and some other events. And how did this impact your game and your process?
Oh man, I'm gonna tell you right now that that was a big push for me, as a big help. Um, and if you don't remember, I was on the verge of pushing go. I was on the verge of saying, let's do this. And it was slated to be published late November or December, mid-December. And I was ready. At least I thought it was, until I brought it to your server. and and I'm thankful for that. It was definitely helpful. Like I said, you know, it's been 3 years in the making. I've It's mainly friends and family that's played the game. But I did have it in front of people, you know, at Gen Con, other designers, other game, you know, people that's been in the industry, and so I've gotten a lot of feedback. You know, one of the biggest early on feedbacks that I got was from someone, a friend of mine in the industry, who was looking at the game to potentially publish it. He had a hard time making it fit with his, you know, with his types of games and his audience. but he gave me some tremendous feedback that helped a lot. And that's another designer. So it was definitely great to go to a table with a bunch of designers who who's there just for the sake of playtesting each other's games and giving feedback. So having that was terrific, and it made me stop. It made me say, no, it's not ready yet. There's been some great feedback that really made me pause and look at the game and say, you know what, this is an issue that needs to be fixed and tweaked. Um, and actually it happened a couple of times, right? Like the first time, it made me go back to the lab. Um, and just recently, and we came to come together a few times. But this past one, there was definitely some great insight that came from one of the players, one of the designers, and yeah, it changed the game for the better. I made a tweak. There was a problem that was stated, and I went to the lab and made the tweak that I thought would answer that, and I believe it made it a lot stronger, and it was definitely well received by my local playtesters. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to bringing it back to you guys, just so you guys can see where it's at now. But but yeah, it's ready to go, I believe.
That's fantastic. Well, one of the jokes in the industry is games never get finished; they just get published, because
Right.
you can always tweak, you
Yes.
can always change. You can try to get that game just perfect, and you'll just keep working on it forever. At some point, you have to say, yes, this game is solid, it's good, people are really enjoying it, it's time to launch. But knowing when that time is coming, sometimes it's a bit tricky.
Yes. I'm at that place where I just keep I just it keeps reverberating is press go. But yeah, every time we get together, it's always, oh, this is something new. This is something that I can do to make it even better. But I think from the last few times, it's been that one little jump that it's needed to feel like totally solid, to feel like it is fun first, right? Like, and all the fiddly stuff that gets in the way of having fun. Um, yeah, it's pushed to the side. So now my mind about, like you said, it's never finished. I do have thoughts of expansion and developing it out more. But the core game, the actual, the core game, the foundation of it is set. It's ready to go.
That's awesome. So, what's been your favorite part about designing triple scoops?
You know what? My favorite part about it is family. I This has been a family endeavor, and like I said, getting my daughter involved with the art, and she's not only, not only is she, involved with the art, and she did all the art. Um, she's my greatest playtester, right? And ideator, right? Like she comes up with some really cool ideas, and I find ways to put into the game. Not only her, my youngest daughter as well, who was the conceptualizer, right? She's the one that came up with, let's make a game about ice cream. So she has some cool ideas as well, and also my wife. Um, there's a there's a whole um, like expansion idea that came because of her. So um, and I would say hopefully we can get to expansion, but because of the form I chose, the route I chose to take for publishing, it's inevitable that expansions will be there. So
Nice. So maybe that's a good segue into where you plan to launch it. So I know you decided you're going to do a crowd sale for the game on
Yeah.
Game Crafter as opposed to, say, launching on Kickstarter or another larger crowdfunding platform. What made you decide to go that route?
Well, there's a few factors there. So firstly, I was thinking, yeah, definitely I'm gonna go with Kickstarter if I don't get connected with a publisher, which there was attempts there. For the most part, um, whether it fit or not, or people were interested, there was this whole, yeah, we can put it on the list 3 years out, and then we can start, developing this out and making this a game. So yeah, not wanting to get on someone else's list. And then the Kickstarter thing, I watched different podcasts and read up on it, and I honestly, just for me, and this is not to say for anyone else who wants to go that route, and there's many of great success stories and much success that can be had going that route. Um, for me, I didn't want to take that beast on from, with the bandwidth I have currently. And yeah, so the many different, people who push it are also the same people who say, maybe you don't want that headache. So, I take that to heart. I would listen to, the Jamie Stagmeyers and all of that, and those folks who went that route and successful. But I have to really think about, is that for me and what I'm doing? You know, if if I was doing this full time, if I go to work, I use my back to work every day, so it's not that's just not the option for me. I wouldn't be able to put the time into it that it needs. And my my thing too, like I said, I look at it from the lens of a player, and and it has to be about the end user. So if it's if I can make this to to be able to be fun for the end user, then I want to do it in the way that's going to make that happen. And for me to go the route of a Kickstarter is gonna dampen that for me. Um, yeah. So right now I am doing the print on demand, simple and easy and sweet. In the future, would I do a Kickstarter? Would I, partner with some other publishers or anything like that? I'm totally open to that in the future. Right now, this is us taking it slow. As I was telling you earlier, taking it slow. Um, and I don't see anything wrong with that. And like I said, this game, it started off with something to play with my kids and enjoy together, something that we create together, and now it's something that's viable. There's many different people who've seen it in the industry that says it's a viable product, and I want to make it happen, but the end user in mind, I don't want I don't want to go through the time and all the different barriers that it takes to get it to the table. If I get a handful of people enjoying this game, and I have a small community enjoying the game, and we can interact with them and enjoy it with them, that's enough for us. So that's my stance on it as a designer. Do I ultimately want to make it bigger and publish more? Yes. I have other games that I'm working on right now, um, for play testing, some other games that I'm probably going to be doing most of the artwork for, just because of style. But yeah, it's definitely something that I've considered, um, Kickstarter and other publishers, but I want something that's going to be ready for the table now, and I think this is it, and I don't mind having lower numbers to start. So
That's totally fair. Yeah, like you said, you just made a game for fun, something you can enjoy with other people, and you want to spread the word. And Kickstarter can be very good for some people, but it is a lot more work, and it
yeah,
almost becomes like a full-time job to do that. So Game Crafter is kind of an easier route to go about. So maybe for the benefit of those who haven't launched a game on the Game Crafter, maybe you could just briefly go through what kind of steps you need to go through to launch a game on Game Crafter.
yeah. Well, go to thegamecrafter.com. It's it's very easy to navigate. They take you through the process, and definitely there's people out there who can carry you through it easier than me, right? Like people who has a lot of other games under their belt, they're on YouTube, and but it's definitely an easy process. Um, One thing that I do enjoy about it, as you said, the crowd sale, it's a little bit different than a Kickstarter, right? So that's the crowdfunding, right? So the crowdfunding is you have to reach a certain point to get funded, and then your project can happen. You set that goal and everything, but with the game crafter, um, it's a crowd sale. It's not. It's gonna be funded even if you only get one person to purchase. But the difference is you don't have stretch goals where like we're gonna open up this part of the product. Like you don't get this part unless we get so much funding. But if you get this much funding, then you're gonna get this part of the product. um, whether it requires more art, more production, it could be figures, cards, dice, specialized and tokens and bits or whatever it is. But we're not going to give you this until we get to this tier. With the crowd sale, it's instead of instead of keeping, these certain parts of the product awaiting a certain funding level, um, you get a discount. So once you hit, say you get 50 sales, then everyone gets a discount. You get 100 sales, everyone gets an extra discount. And it goes down from there. As it goes up, it goes down, right? The more people who purchase, um, the cheaper it is for them. So, and I thought that was quite nice. Um, the other thing that I like about it is you do kind of have a way to have have it still be a stretch goal type thing beyond just the discount, because when you put one item on sale, you can attach two other items to it. So when someone goes to purchase, they can get any one of the three items, right? So you can get the item that's being put on sale, or you can get the attached items too. So that's a way for me, with triple scoops is I'm going to have the base game and two expansions release at the same time. So so when people get it, they can get it at any level that they want, kind of like you do with Kickstarter. You can get it at a level that affords you more of the product. So so yeah, it's definitely a something to look at, for designers out there who really just want to make a game and get it out there, right? Like whether it be just for you and your family, you and your friends, you want to publish to sell and make a profit. And I'm not saying there's a lot of profit to be had in it, because it's not, and it's not that it's not that that's what I'm in this for and pursuing it for. So, but yeah, you have to make that decision for yourself, right? Like, do I want to be a designer who designs games and and sells it to publishers, or do I want to be a designer who designs games and make this a full time job, as you said, and go to Kickstarter and become a marketer, a salesperson, all the different hats that you have to wear to make that happen, or you know, or do want to partner up with someone like the game crafter, and you can focus on the design aspect of it more so, but you also don't have to be in waiting with another publisher. You have a lot more say on how your product is going to be developed and produced and put out there. There's definitely more work to put in. There's marketing and all those different things. It's just not as intense as what you're dealing with the Kickstarter, because you have to meet that goal. There's a number you have to meet, and yeah, it's a whole lot more involvement. So yeah, it depends on where your level is at, right? Like if you're ready to go in and go for the gusto, yeah, sure, Kickstarter. Or I mean, you don't even have to use that. I mean, if you have the funding to make a game, then you can fund it yourself, right? Like there's ways to do it, but the biggest thing, if you want to make a game and get it out there, is an audience, right? So you have to have an audience. So even with Game Crafter, they don't create an audience for you. You know, you have to bring the crowd. So you have to bring the crowd to the show. And so that keep that in mind if you do want to be if you want to self-publish in any form, is that you still have to have people who want your game. And the only way you can do that is to create an audience, um, so that's a big part of it. And that's been really, for me, that's been one of the barriers, um, in a way, because one thing, and I've learned this from various people, from you, from other people, about creating community and that, how the importance of that. And so one thing I never want to do is create community so that I can have their dollars, or you know it I want to be genuine, right? So like, if I'm going to be a part of a community, I'm a part of the community. And if I want to create a community around what I'm doing, um it's for the sake of the fun that's going to be had for all, right? Like, and I'm not looking at everyone as transactions, um but as as someone that's part of my community, right? Like, the one thing that I always hear people talk about, this community, that community, and the key word to community is commune, right? Like, if you're not communing together, if you're not doing things together, then it's not really a community. So, so creating a community just so you can have the numbers, so you can have you know, the likes and all those different things, and yeah, and the eyes on your product. Yeah, that's not me, right? Like, if I'm going to create community, it's like it's for the sake of communing and being a part of it. So like I said, the time commitment to really go in on that, it hasn't been there for me. So I'm slowly moving into it. I'm slowly moving it. I mean, we do our weekly game days here at the house, and that's been great, and people ask for Trill Scoops, it's like,
Mhm.
we can play whatever you guys want, but
It's a good
they
sign.
want to play it. So yeah, so yeah, it's important to me to, yeah, just to be genuine and real about where I'm at and how I'm approaching this thing. It's there's a lot of new, even though I've been around the industry and I've been in it. I didn't wear all the hats. I've been around the people who wore the various hats. But I I do know that I have to take it slow. I do know that I can't do all those different things, right? Like there was advice given to me by one of my old bosses. Well, yeah, he was my boss, and when I was in-house game designer, he realized, that I had desire to do my own thing and everything, and he had wore many hats, and he said, do the one thing, right? Don't do all the things. Do the one thing. So like you're an artist, you want to do art. You're a game designer, you want to do games that you develop games, you want to be a game developer, right? Like the difference between design and development. You want to write the rules, you want to edit, you want to, do the graphic design, you want to market it, you want to do all these different things. Find the one thing in all those things and do that, and be good at it. And I took that to heart, but I also realized that I do want to kind of dabble in all of it, right? So if that's the case for me, I I have to I have to take it slow, right?
Yeah.
I have to go in slowly with it and not try to force things. If I'm just going to be a game designer and just design games and sell them to publishers, then I can go full force and just do that, right? If I'm going to be an artist and do art, then I can just do that, or graphic design, or I can just do that and just go full force with it. But if I'm going to touch everything, if I want to design the game and publish it, market it myself, and sell it, maybe even house it in the in the garage and ship it and do all those different things. There's learning curves in all those areas, and there's many different things for me to learn and develop to be really effective and successful. So we've and I'm gonna say we've decided, as a family, to do it. So we're gonna do it, and we're gonna take our time with it, but we're also going to be intentional and set dates, set some smart goals, and make it work. So
Yeah.
there's many different games that we want to do outside of triple scoops, and it's and it and it's gonna take a little bit more than just cards. Triple scoops is a card game, but I have other things that's gonna require the dice and the boards and the figures and all those different things. So we're taking it slow. I kind of feel like, you talk about the Kickstarter and the other various ways to go about it and funding your project. I almost feel like I missed that wave, right? Like when it used to be, oh, go to Kickstarter if you want to fund something, and people will go and try to. Now it's big corporate, uh, com, you know,
Yeah, it's definitely changed. It's gone
yeah,
away from the
companies with
small
it,
independent
right?
creators to the bigger ones. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
lots of stuff there to think about. That great advice of focusing on one thing, but also wanting to do a bunch of things. And I think also about the crowdfunding sale, the benefit of that having, the more people come in, the better the price gets for everybody. So that's definitely something that you might want to consider. But we're almost at a time here, so I do want to give you the
oh,
chance to give a quick pitch for Triple Scoops and let people know where they can get a copy of it.
all right. So by the time this airs, I think it would be close to happening. So I will be pressing go in the next couple of days here. So it would be going up on sale soon. You can sign up there, and we'll let you know exactly when it's going to launch. It's a it's a card game, dynamic card game about ice cream. So you're all working in an ice cream shop, and you're competing with each other to serve customers, and ice cream is flying everywhere. So it gets pretty frantic. It can be a little cutthroat, a little bit of take that here and there. But there's also a little element of teamwork that happens as well. Joe, you haven't played the team version of it, but we're doing that as well. And look forward to trying that out with you. But yeah, so there is fun for the whole family, right? Like the idea came from making a game that my family can play together, and that's what it has become, a game for families to play together, family and friends, right? So it's and the artwork is awesome. I can't say enough about that. The artwork is all my daughter. She did all the artwork. I kind of helped her with a little bit of the poses here and there, but for the most part, it's all her. Well, it is all her. I just kind of helped with the poses, and she drew it. So, um, yeah. So, what can I say? What if I was to say a game that it's like, I don't know. It's a fun card game about ice cream.
Mhm.
I'm not sure of there's many of those.
I guess it
So
it stands on its own, which is not a bad thing
yeah,
then. But yeah, I definitely agree. A lot of fun to play, and your daughter's art is fantastic and very thematic and really fits with the game. So I wish you well. I hope your crowd sale goes amazing, Mike. And I want to say thanks so much for being here for a great chat about Triple Scoops and your experience creating that. Thanks for being here on the Board Game Binge.
thank you, Joe.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast. Guest hosted by Joe Slack, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you'd like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our Instagram channel, Board Game Binge Podcast, and you'll get notifications of the live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. We can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.